Two guys fish the same lake on the same morning with the same lure. One fills a cooler with 23 bass in 90 minutes flat. The other sits for 8 hours and catches absolutely nothing. Same water, same temperature, same bait. Completely opposite results. This happens every weekend on every lake in America. And the industry will never explain why, because the answer is free. There is an organ inside every fish that decides when it eats. An organ that no tackle shop mentions and no sonar can detect. A man in the Ozark Mountains figured it out with a pencil and a notebook. His name was Earl Wiggs and he fished Table Rock Lake for 60 years. Earl was not a scientist, not a guide, and never sold a thing in his life. But everybody on that lake knew Earl caught more fish than anyone alive. In 1981, Earl started keeping a small leather notebook. Every trip he wrote 3 things before he even touched his rod: the sky, the wind, and the reading on a brass barometer from his porch. After 40 years and 2,000 entries, the pattern was undeniable. When the barometer dropped, Earl caught almost nothing at all. When the barometer rose fast after a cold front, Earl filled the boat. Not sometimes. Every single time without exception for 4 decades. People called Earl lucky, but luck does not repeat for 40 years. What Earl found with a pencil is something the industry buried on purpose. Every freshwater fish has an organ called the swim bladder inside its body. A gas-filled sac that works like a balloon, controlling buoyancy up and down. When atmospheric pressure drops, the gas in that bladder expands outward. It pushes against the stomach and the intestines and every organ inside. The fish feels real physical discomfort from the inside of its own body. Like eating Thanksgiving dinner with your belt 3 notches too tight. When a fish feels that pressure, it stops eating immediately and completely. No lure on earth will make it open its mouth. None. That is why entire lakes go dead on certain days across the whole country. It is not bad luck, not the wrong lure, not your skill level at all. It is the atmosphere squeezing the organs of every fish in that water. Earl figured it out with a $40 barometer and a pencil. Welcome to American Fishing, where we dig up what the industry buries. If you are new here, subscribe now and hit the bell. Every week we bring the knowledge they want you to forget. That 90-minute window is just the beginning of what Earl discovered. I put everything the industry buried about pressure and fish behavior in the angler's vault in the first link of the description below. The exact pressure readings that trigger feeding frenzies on any lake. The sky signals that old-timers read without any technology at all. How each species reacts differently and what it means for your setup. And a front tracking calendar so you never waste a day on dead water. Everything in one place, no fluff, straight to the point. First link in the description. But stay here because this video is just getting started. Now here is what the industry does not want you to connect together. There is a second system that makes pressure even more devastating. Every fish has a lateral line from head to tail on both sides of its body. That line detects vibrations and pressure changes in the surrounding water. When the atmosphere shifts, the lateral line fires alarm signals non-stop. So the fish gets hit from the inside by bladder pain and from the outside by lateral line alarms screaming that something just changed in the water. A double assault that shuts down feeding faster than anything else known. Researchers at Oklahoma State confirmed this in pressure chamber studies. They put largemouth bass in tanks and dropped the pressure gradually. Feeding collapsed within 20 minutes of the pressure starting to fall. When they raised it back, the bass resumed striking within 60 minutes. The fishing electronics industry makes over $4 billion a year. Garmin alone sells a LiveScope unit for $3,500. They market it as the ultimate advantage and they show pros catching giants. They say it shows fish in real time, and that is technically accurate. But Garmin will never print one critical sentence on that product box. Seeing a fish does not mean that fish will eat your bait today. A bass on your screen with its bladder swollen is a fish you will not catch. You could dangle the most expensive swim bait in America right on its nose. That fish will sit there and stare at it like a rock until the pressure changes. You paid a fortune to watch a fish that will not give you the time of day. Earl read a barometer on his porch every morning for free. His notebook had over 2,000 entries and he never spent a single dime on tech. The industry buried pressure because no product on any shelf can control the sky. Stay here because now I will show you exactly how Earl read the sky. Earl divided pressure into 3 zones that he color-coded in his notebook. Red meant the barometer was falling and Earl wrote one word next to it. Stay home. Yellow meant stable pressure holding steady for 2 or 3 days straight. Earl wrote go but be patient because the fish eat slow during stable days. Green meant the barometer was climbing fast after a front had just passed. Earl wrote drop everything and go now because this is the 90-minute window. That green zone is when Earl caught his biggest fish year after year. In the first 60 to 90 minutes after pressure starts rising fast. Every fish in the lake wakes up from a forced fast and eats aggressively. The swim bladder contracts back to normal and the discomfort finally stops. The hunger that built up during the low-pressure hours explodes all at once. Earl said it was like opening the doors at a buffet after a 3-day fast. Now let me tell you how each species in American waters responds to pressure. Largemouth bass are the most popular target and the most pressure sensitive. When pressure drops, bass move to deeper structure and become nearly dormant. They will not chase a crankbait and they will barely look at a spinnerbait. But during a rising pressure window, bass attack topwater with pure violence. That is why the best topwater blowups happen the morning after a cold front. Every tournament angler knows this, but the industry never explains why. Crappie are schooling fish that shift position dramatically with pressure. During falling pressure, crappie drop to the deepest brush piles they can find. They stack tight together and refuse to move for any jig or minnow. When pressure rises, crappie move up into the mid-column and spread out. A slow fall presentation with a small jig at the right depth is devastating. Earl caught more crappie than anyone on Table Rock using this pattern alone. Catfish react the least to pressure changes of any freshwater species. Their swim bladder is smaller relative to body size, which means less expansion. Channel cats will still feed during falling pressure but at a slower pace. Flatheads barely change behavior at all and blues stay active near current. If the pressure has dropped and you still want to fish, go after catfish. They are the only reliable bite when the sky is falling on everyone else. Walleye are the most interesting because they use pressure to their advantage. When pressure drops, walleye move shallower because bait fish get disoriented. The low pressure confuses small minnows and shad and makes them vulnerable. Walleye are ambush predators that take advantage of confused prey. So falling pressure is actually good for walleye in the first few hours. After that, even walleye shut down as the bladder discomfort takes over. Bluegill are small and their bladders are tiny, but they still respond. During stable high-pressure, bluegill feed aggressively in the shallows. During falling pressure, they tuck into weed beds and become nearly invisible. During rising pressure, they are the first species to resume feeding. If you see bluegill hitting the surface after a storm, the window is open. Now I need to tell you about the trap the app industry built for anglers. There are dozens of apps that sell pressure data for $15 to $30. A monthly subscription to show you a number your grandfather read for free. Earl watched the clouds, felt the wind, and looked at his porch barometer. If clouds come in low and fast from the west, the pressure is dropping hard. If the sky clears bright and blue after 2 days of rain, pressure is rising. If smoke from a campfire goes straight up, the pressure is high and stable. If birds are flying low and insects are swarming near, the surface of front is near. Earl never needed an app because the sky told him everything he needed. The industry managed to monetize the very knowledge it spent decades hiding. First, they buried it so you would buy electronics instead of reading the sky. Then they sold the same knowledge back to you as a monthly subscription. That is the pattern that repeats across every corner of the fishing industry. Think about what I just told you during these minutes of this video. The swim bladder is a living barometer that decides when a fish eats. Falling pressure shuts down feeding, and no equipment in the world fixes that. Rising pressure after a storm opens a window of explosive hungry feeding. 90 minutes that are worth more than 8 hours on the wrong day. The entire industry survives on the hope that you never figure out that a free organ inside the fish matters more than any gear on the shelf. Earl knew this, and he outfished every single person on that lake for decades. Subscribe to American Fishing right now and hit the bell. Every subscription keeps alive what the industry is trying to bury forever. And if you want the complete map of pressure patterns and fish behavior, the species charts, the sky signals, the front calendar for every season, it is all inside the Angler's Vault in the first link of the description. Click now before this video ends and take the full knowledge with you. See you in the next video, and next time check the sky before you check your gear.